Hi, I'm Libby Cornish from Decadent Alternatives. Welcome to my online gluten-free baking classes. In this video, we're going to be doing wraps. And you'll probably notice that I have a change of venue. I'm borrowing a kitchen for today. So with wraps, one of the most important things is actually making sure that the dough is at 80 degrees. I'm going to use a Thermomix because I can dial it in to blend the dough or blend the flour at 80 degrees. But if you are using a stand mixer, what I would do there is use hot water, boiling water, mix the dough and then do it a couple of times, give say 10-second bursts in the microwave for the dough to heat it up to 80 degrees. First up, the ingredients, we have flour with a bit of salt, oil and water. I've already heated up the oil and water in the Thermomix, and so all I need to do is put it in for 45 seconds at speed 5, at 80 degrees. And so I'll get that on. Done. Now when it comes out, it will be hot. And so in this case, it will be still steaming, so you need to be careful, and it will be quite sticky. Normally, I would say put it in, wrap it up, put it into Glad Wrap, because this is essentially nearly 80 degrees, and you'll see that it is actually quite sticky, although it will come cleanly away from my hands. Basically, that is the sort of dough that you want to be able to get if you are doing it in a stand mixer. Now, I have some dough, this is dough that I made yesterday. I'll just put the lid on that and away. I have some dough I made yesterday. It has cooled down considerably. I have kneaded it so that it is still pliable. Basically, to make the wraps, you are going to want to roll them out between either two pieces of baking paper, or I'm using both mats here, and to a minimum of about a millimetre thickness. While I roll this wrap out, before I do that, I'm actually going to put the fry pan and heat that up. I'm using my 1 millimetre spacers, and basically you want your wraps to be circular. Now, if you have a look at mine, it's not very circular. So in this case, I'll get a knife. I might cut that bit off there, put a bit there, and put a bit there, so that when I roll it out again, it will be in a more of a circular pattern. Now, depending on the size of your pan, depending upon the size of your pan is going to depend on the size of your actual wrap that you're going to cut. Now, you shouldn't cut on pastry mats. So this is very naughty of me for doing that. So that's basically a circle. These ones can easily be lifted off and they can go in to make the next wrap. If it is slightly warm, if the dough is still slightly warm, sometimes it will be hard to actually peel off the mat. In that case, what I do is get a piece of baking paper, and this one I have used before. Roll it on, and lift off. These are less sticky because the dough has had time to actually cool down. If you want to make wraps and then freeze them away, I'd suggest freeze them away in between pieces of baking paper, like these. You can use the baking paper again, and then just take a frozen one out of the freezer just before use. Basically, to cook these, you are going to want roughly a minute and a half on either side. So I'm just going to pick that one up and pop it down onto the fry pan. You can probably see the steam coming off. I'm using the Baker's Magic flour made with the brown flaxseed flour. I haven't actually oiled the pan. This is a non-stick one. If you are using a cast iron pan, maybe a tiny little bit of oil. But if you have oil in the pan, it does make it crisper, and so it means that the wrap is more crispy than soft and pliable. When you turn it over, you'll get some of the air pockets inside forming. Just leave that to cook there for a little bit. If your dough is too hard to roll out, it has probably cooked a little longer than it should have, or the temperature is higher than 80 degrees. I have some photos on my wrap recipe of dough that I have made at 70 degrees, at 80 degrees and 90 degrees. You'll see that there's a slight difference in colour, and it looks, well, to me it actually looks harder than one done at 90 degrees. So that is a hot wrap. But basically that is your wrap. Great. Thank you very much for listening.